I'll hear from time to time from parents, well, it was 50-50. What financial aid officers will say is that there are 365 days in a year. Somebody had to have the child one more day, okay? There are situations where what I hear back then is, well, on high noon of that odd day, so each parent had the kid for 12 hours, okay? If that is the case, and only if that's the case, it is then the parent who the student received the most financial support. Okay, and even in that case, even if it's supposed to be 50-50, realistically, there's an extra dollar one way or the other. Okay? We're seeing more and more right now of parents who are divorced but still living together, just because of the economy, that's just the way that it is. In that case, this would also be the situation for that, where it is then in that case, it's the parent who provided the most financial support. Once the parent is determined in the situation, if that parent is remarried, the step-parent must also provide financial information. So, again, as you start your FAFSA then, this is the screenshot that you're going to see. Again, FAFSA.gov, pretty people in the middle, green buttons, that's the site that you want to go to, not anything else. This is the login screen. You're going to be asked, student is going to be asked for the name, social security number, and birth date. You notice there's a little keyboard on the screen there. That's in the case you're concerned about keystroke hackers. You can use your mouse to type in some of your information. Okay? If you notice on the left-hand side, there's a big bar that says students. You'll notice as we go through this and I show you screenshots that changes from student to parent. Okay? So make sure as you're filling out the FAFSA that you're aware of whose information needs to be provided at that time. Okay, so what are the steps of the FAFSA? 7 steps. We're not going to go line by line, but I will just touch on each step briefly here. First one is student demographics. It's probably the easiest section of the FAFSA. It asks you for your name, your address, email address, things like that. The big thing here is to make sure that you're using the name exactly as it appears on your social security number. Okay? A lot of times, what the federal government does is it matches the name on your FAFSA to the social security numbers that's being used. And if the name on your social security card is John and you typed in Johnny, it's not going to match and it's going to spit out your FAFSA. Okay? Not the worst thing in the world. They're going to just ask you to fix it. But just make sure that you're using your real official name at that point. They're also going to ask you the student, right? The student is going to be asked for the email address. This is a good time if your email address discusses Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, any part of an anatomy, you want to get a more conservative email address, okay? Get one with your name in it, something a little bit more official, okay? So here's another screenshot. If you remember one thing I talked about today, it's this. And it's the help and hints box on the right-hand side of the screen. That help and hints box, as you're completing your FAFSA, is your best friend. Okay? I've been helping students with their FAFSA for 4 years now. I still use the help and hints box. Okay? What it does is every time you put your cursor in an answer field, it will tell you exactly what you need to put for that field. Okay? So if you have any questions as you're going along, just look in that help and hints box and it'll tell you how to answer that question. For men in the room, in order to receive financial aid, you need to be registered with the Selective Service. Okay? So if you're not registered with the Selective Service already, you can as you fill out the FAFSA. The FAFSA will ask you a question, are you registered with the Selective Service? If you answer no, they're going to say, would you like to register with the Selective Service? If you check yes, congratulations, you are registered with the Selective Service. It's done. Okay? You can start registering for the Selective Service at 17 years and 3 months, which typically for seniors at this time, they're typically about there. This section will also ask you for your high school. If you remember, I said eligibility for financial aid is dependent that you graduate from high school. Okay? This is a question that basically checks that. So make sure as you're filling out your FAFSA that you answer what high school you go to. It's possible, and counselors feel free to jump in, A lot of times there will be multiple options for schools, and I can see here there might be a Hartford High School and a Hartford Union High School. Doesn't matter. I don't know if your counselors have a more official one they want you to use, but just as long as you're getting Hartford High School in there. I think you're the only Hartford in the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as long as Hartford's in the name, you're good to go. Okay, second question. Pull out your evals. Question this time is, what colleges should a student send their FAFSA to? A, any college they might attend. B, any college that they've applied to. C, any college that they've been accepted at. Or D, any college that asks them to. There's only one right answer here. Or E, I don't know. And again, it's fine if you don't know. That's actually better for me because then I get to teach you something. Okay, so go ahead and take a moment here. Anybody need a pen? Good.
I feel like Phil Donahue. I need my microphone. And the students are wondering who the heck Phil Donahue is.
Okay, so we're gonna move on here. We had some folks who need to sign in. Is there a? Oh, thank you. Okay, so step 2 is school selection. You can list up to 10 colleges, and don't go back and change your answer. You can select up to 10 colleges to send your FAFSA to. Unlike the ACT, it costs you nothing to send your FAFSA to as many colleges as you want to. Okay, so if you're applying to more than 10 colleges, you can go back and add some more once you go back to FAFSA.gov to make corrections. Okay, so any college that you're interested in, send your FAFSA to them. Okay, nothing's going to happen with that FAFSA until you complete an application and are accepted. But even if it's just a slight possibility that you might go there, it takes no time at all to send them your FAFSA. Okay, so just go ahead and send it to them. The important thing to remember here is that the FAFSA is not your college application. Okay, so I've helped students before. We get through the FAFSA and they say, oh, I'm so happy my college application is done. It's like, no, your college application is not done. This is just your FAFSA. Okay, so you still need to complete your application. The FAFSA is not anything for admissions. It's just for financial aid. Okay, so again, send that application to as many schools as you want to. Any place that you might attend, even if it's just a small percentage of a chance, go ahead and still send them your FAFSA. Okay, so here's another screenshot. As you can see, there's a red line for the sections that we are done with, and then there's a blue line for the section that we're on. So you can kind of monitor your progress as you're going along the FAFSA. As you type in your college, you're just going to type in the state, the city, and the school name, and then select what college you want to add it to. Okay, again, you can put 10 on your FAFSA, and then you can go back and add as many as you want to later on. For each school, you also need to choose your housing plan. So that's either on campus, off campus, or with a parent. The idea here is that the cost of attendance for that school is likely lower if you live with your parents. Because most parents don't charge rent. Not all, but most won't charge rent. If you're still not sure if you're going to live at home or not live at home, just go ahead and say that you're going to live on campus so you can get that higher cost of attendance. Okay? If you know for sure you're going to live at home then, though, make sure you put that you're going to live at home. Also, if you say that you're going to live on campus, make sure they have on-campus housing. It seems simple, but it happens a lot. Okay. Every college, the question was they have a cafeteria. Every college will have a cafeteria, but there might not be showers, so it might be a little stinky.
if you're right off campus, like some at schools or something?
Yep, and so off-campus is an option as well. So if the question was if you live on or if you're going to a tech school and living off campus, choose that as your option then, not on campus. That would be off campus. Okay, the next step then is dependency status. Okay, dependency status determines whether or not the student needs to provide parent information. Okay, it's important to remember that financial aid dependency is different and not at all related to IRS dependency. Okay, so sometimes I'll hear parents who say, once my kid turns 18, they're on their own. Okay, that may be the case, but the federal government doesn't see it that way for financial aid purposes. Okay, even if a parent needs to provide financial information though on the FAFSA, that does not put the parent on the hook for tuition. Okay, tuition bills, students, go to you. Okay, they don't go to parents. If there are any parents out there that want their kids to pay for college on their own, it is more likely for your student to do that if you provide financial information on the FAFSA, because students who do not provide financial information on the FAFSA, or do not provide parent information on the FAFSA when they need to, won't get any of the aid that I talked about. Okay, it's considered incomplete FAFSA, and unless there are extreme special circumstances, it won't even be considered. The most a student could get is an unsubsidized loan, and even that's at the discretion of the financial aid officer. Okay. There are some situations where a student is considered independent. Anybody here 24? Okay, so that's not one of, okay. Any high school seniors here 24? No? Okay, so that would be one. You can marry your student off if you really want to get them independent. That's probably not advised. More likely what we see is students whose parents were deceased after the age of 13, students who have been in foster care, students who are currently in a legal guardianship, and students' families who are considered homeless. Okay, those are kind of the most common. The other one that we see often is if a student has a child and they provide more than half their support to that child, then they're also considered independent. But just having a baby is not enough to be considered independent. So no ideas. Okay? Yeah. Yeah.
What defines unaccompanied youth?
That's a good question. So the question was, what's an unaccompanied youth? The homeless and unaccompanied youth questions need to be verified by a school district homeless liaison, the director of a homeless shelter, or a director of a runaway agency. So if you think you might fall into those categories, talk to any of those people. I always like to say, if you're here with your parents at a financial aid night, you're dependent. Just the way it is. Let me also say with parents, if any of you are grandparents, big brothers, big sisters, aunts and uncles for the student that you're here with today, you are not a parent, okay? I mean, technically, you may be parenting that child, but you do not need to provide financial information on the FAFSA. Only biological parents or adoptive parents provide that information on the FAFSA. Okay? Step 4 discusses parent demographics. So this is where marital status comes into place, state of legal residence, and a big piece of the financial aid formula is family size and household size. Okay? So more and more people are living with family nowadays, so it might just not be parent and kids. If you have grandparents living with you, if you have cousins living with you, anybody who lives in your house and they're not paying rent and you are feeding them, I mean that's basically the criteria, they can be counted in your household size. There is that button, I don't have a laser pointer here, but that household size button about the middle of the screen there, click on that button if you have people living in your house and you wonder if you can include them or not. Okay? Definitely kids, spouses, live-in partners, can't include the pets. That haven't allowed yet.